Where is innovation born? And where do new ideas come from? Can only creative professionals generate exciting ideas? Or do viable concepts have to come from within the industry? How and where do curious minds meet? Today, we take a look at a place where real innovation happens. Sweet people, how's it going? Are you looking for the sweet spot of your brand? Well, you've come to the right place. You're listening to the Sweetspot Podcast. I'm your host, Marc Suess, and today I'm talking to Raffaela Seitz. She is the co-lead of the Cross Innovation Hub at Hamburg Kreativgesellschaft, which means Hamburg Creative Society. I talked to Raffaela about the innovation landscape in Germany, the differences in creative and innovation culture, and which trends or technology will drive innovation in the future. This is a great talk for everyone who's looking to integrate new ideas and innovation into their company, and for all creatives who want to engage more with the corporate world. So please enjoy my talk to Raffaela Seitz.
Welcome to the Sweet Side. This is the Sweetspot Podcast with Marc Suess, investigating entrepreneurship, purpose, and the creative life.
Sweet people, another week, another show. Today I welcome in the studio Raffaela Seitz. Nice to have you.
Nice to be here. Thank you very much for inviting.
Sure. Nice to have you here. So I just wondered, it's a Tuesday. It's the little Monday this week.
It does feel like it.
It does feel like it. You told me when you arrived you had a day full of meetings, very exciting day. How does the start of the week look like in an innovation hub?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it changes from week to week, but on a regular base, I co-lead this project, and so I have like my jour fixe with a second co-lead, and we're just having a look together what's like priorities of the week and what's up, right? So that's how we always start into the week.
A lot of fires to put out, maybe?
Yes, maybe. Yeah.
You know, I wondered if I look at my little share of experience with innovation and startup and founding culture and all of that, you always need to have one eye on the market. What's happening? Are there new investments in for example, social media networks? New investments floating in there? What are big players in the market doing? Do you also always monitor that? Is that something that you catch up on at the beginning of the week? Do you have like strategy? What's happening in the world, in the innovation hubs of the world? Something like that happening?
I don't think like we're doing it like in a very strategic way. I think we're like monitoring throughout. And I think we're also like in a very special period of our project where it's about sort of like the eject period, like we're coming to an end with our funding and we're almost ready to start the new period. So it's a lot about, like what do we want to achieve before starting a next round of Cross Innovation Hub. So we do scanning, but it's not like the strategic start of the week.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. Before we dive into your job and what the Hamburg Kreativgesellschaft, the Hamburg Creative Society actually does, I really want to dig into your story because you have a pretty interesting job biography so far. You worked at theaters, museums, you worked as an innovation strategist. So you worked kind of at the interface of art, society, and business. And at first sight, to me, that looked like you're just a very curious person following your maybe intuition or wherever, and the next opportunity led you. But through different sectors, I wonder if there a connection between the jobs or what guided you on your path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm like really, really very curious mind. And I remember like after school, I was so broadly interested that that I couldn't really make a decision, what to really go for.
Yeah.
The only thing I really knew was, okay, I want to travel, I want to learn languages, but I didn't have the guts to just do it, So my parents said, hey, come on, let's just start with studying first, and then you can do all the international experience. And then basically I just stumbled a bit into business administration studies in Mannheim. And it felt like sort of interesting, but not what I really wanted to do, because it was too much focused on business and just in a very instrumental way. And that wasn't what I considered studies to be all about and research. So it was quite clear I needed to change that path. And then after doing some internships, I had I took myself a semester to do a conscious decision, sort of. And I was in international marketing, because that would have been the area I would have been most interested in with business administration.
Did you finish business administration, or did you cut it off?
I took it with me as a major.
Okay.
So I changed paths, sort of. And, with that practical semester in my back, I felt like, okay, it should probably be architecture, psychology, or cultural sciences.
Amazing. Okay, I get it.
So I was still quite a bit broad. And it ended up with cultural sciences, but it could have been architecture in Berlin, just the same, or, I took business administration as one major with me, because I thought, having sort of that business background does make sense anyway,
100%.
And another major that I then chose was arts, visual arts studies. And so, there was always that passion for culture. There was always that passion for different cultural, creative fields. And I think this whole studies of culture and science was just a research and university boost for my mind, the way that I wanted to have it, in this Humboldt sense. And then I started had the big luck that we started with a practical semester where Daniel Liebeskind, the architect, was involved. And
nice.
And it was about, how we imagined the university fit for the future in a civic society of the 21st century. And, all of the potential behind cultural science sort of laid out.
Yeah, amazing.
And I was just into that. And then, also in the past, there were always humans that sort of inspired me along the path to take another step. And so I remember one of my profs at Lüneburg. She did her PhD in London at that time at University College in Art History. So I first heard about that option. And after my studies in cultural science, I said, okay, I need to have that international push now. And I'm very intrigued by that history of art study at that university with its political focus also. And then I just went there, and that was really one of the best experiences that I have ever had, because there were so many international minds that from so many different countries, and the only thing that sort of we shared was the passion for history and art. And going to doing the practical, or approaching that practical experience in theater, museums, etc. I think it's just it all has its origin in pure curiosity. And
And I really appreciate your story, because that sounds like you had the guts to follow your intuition and follow your curiosity, which, well, a lot of people take the other road, right? They say, okay, I study something that I know I can get this and this job, that I have this kind of security, or whatever influence they might choose. But just following your creative passion and your curiosity really can lead to some amazing experiences, and obviously to great jobs. So yeah, amazing. So I mean, today you work for the Hamburg Kreativgesellschaft, which I translated as Hamburg Creative Society. There is no official translation, sweet people. Before we get into your job, how would you say your path of education and experiences led you into the field of innovation? Or is this just something that you can apply your talents? Or is this really, I can imagine it checks a lot of boxes on what you're curious about: culture, society, creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think sort of, yeah. I think it's sort of an expression. It's just an expression of my curiosity. And it's sort of like going that path naturally led me into this position. So like I remember when I was doing, or after doing the history of Art Master, it was like out of personal reason that I knew I wanted to come back to Hamburg. And knowing that I wanted to come back to Hamburg, there was this decision to be made. Okay, do I go into the cultural field or do I go into the business field? And then I just answered it like to myself in a way of saying, okay, I can always go back to the culture and creative, or into the culture, to the cultural field, but it's harder to get back into the business context. So when considering the business context, what it would actually like be the field that I want to act within? Okay, yes. And then it naturally came to my mind, it needs to be sort of innovation, because it's about, discovering and pioneering and being able to be curious on a daily basis and questioning the status quo throughout. Yeah.
Amazing. And I found, I studied innovation management with more of a business focus, but still I appreciated the different experiences that teachers or practitioners bring into the field. Because it's similar to my original profession in advertising and design. I mean, design is a craft. Definitely have to study it. But in advertising and copywriting and even conception and strategy, a lot of people from all walks of life end up there. Some people did yoga before or had a crafty job or whatever, and they just found something where they can apply their creativity to. And I think innovation as a field, as a business field, also attracts a lot of different people. Very, very exciting. Yeah. So if I look up what the Hamburg Kreativgesellschaft does, and I try to put it in a word, I would say you support creative professionals, mostly from Hamburg, I guess, with contemporary offerings that meet individual needs for their creative professions, for their outlets. But maybe you can describe way better what the Kreativgesellschaft actually does.
I can try to.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Hamburg Kreativgesellschaft, or as you beautifully translated, Hamburg Creative Society, is publicly owned agency by the city of Hamburg, which, and we understand ourselves, as you described, as sort of the central point of contact for creatives here. And with creatives, we mean creatives from all different submarkets. And that means there are 11 submarkets behind, due to a definition once given. So it's among many others, right? It's design, it's architecture, it's visual arts, performing arts, software and games, literature, film, and everything else that I forgot in this round. So, and we do that by innovation. Yeah. Well, I think those agents, they are innovation drivers for sure. And that's like the origin of the project that I and the other team members work for. But Hamburg Kreativgesellschaft, we're active in the fields of space. So if you're looking out for a temporary space to rent in Hamburg or creative areas, we sort of accompany the agents in the transition of those areas. It's about financing, getting consulting in that field also, and professionalization or qualification and in innovation. And part of the Kreativgesellschaft are also sub-market initiatives. So we have, for instance, Next Media, a media initiative, Game City for games and software also, and Design Zentrum for designers. Yeah.
You just said it's initiated by the city of Hamburg. So do you know why they originally founded this? What was the core idea of supporting Hamburg as a creative city? Would you say Hamburg is especially qualified as a creative city within Germany? Because most people listening from other countries would probably think of Berlin.
Yeah,
so
most probably.
What would you say makes Hamburg special for creative people, innovators, founders, maybe?
Well, I think there were like innovation, there were drivers, of course, behind that initiative in 2010. That's when we were founded. And so the initiative came out of the Authorities for Culture and Media. And it was sort of, I think, having to do with, we need to have that Spielbein in Hamburg. How would you translate that into English? That playing leg? No, that's straightforward translation. We need to have, some agents that are making things possible. And then very naturally, space was the field that action needed to take place in. And I think space is still the biggest need that comes that we are aware of and that agents share with us. So Hamburg versus Berlin. I think every city needs to support creatives, and creatives make up cities that are attractive, they are the basis for good development, just naturally.
Hallelujah. That's it. I think the same. Yeah. You just said something that really struck me, because you were talking about spaces and rooms to rent out and creative hubs and things that actually take place in real life, in the real world. Did you feel that changed during the pandemic, or is post-pandemic everyone is even more looking forward to real life meetups, bringing something to life in a real room? What is your experience? How did that change over the last 2 years?
I think that the wish for having such physical hubs will definitely increase, because people are in need for those encounters, because we're talking about more than 2 years. So there is, I remember also within our team in the beginning, it was just beautiful experimentation, transferring all innovation formats that we have into the digital space. I mean, there is so much play behind it. Beautiful. But of course, it's different if you're actually physically meeting someone. I mean, the connection can be more sustainable. So yes, appreciating everything that is possible in a digital space, but longing for physical encounters. So I think both is super important, and hubs working in networks and naturally working digitally and physically together is what makes us fit for the future. But I think what's also beautiful is after COVID, or with COVID, that it's also, I think, agents that were in this, or organizations that didn't have that international collaboration beforehand, can now more naturally incorporate that.
Well, I had the same feeling, and some creatives I was talking to also felt like, hey, we really need to reconquer physical spaces. So yeah, I can't wait how this is gonna unfold in the future. So you told us a little bit about what the Kreativgesellschaft does in all different fields all over the city, connecting people in different disciplines. And I mean, you co-lead the Cross Innovation Hub. That's where you work. You're dedicated to the conception and organization of cross-industry offerings in this field of cross-innovation hubs. So maybe we should start at the beginning. If someone's listening and like, okay, what are you guys talking about? What is cross-innovation? Maybe we can start at the very beginning. How would you define cross-innovation?
Yep, absolutely. I will define it. Yeah. So I work for this project, which is called Cross Innovation Hub, and it's like a project that is co-founded by EU money, and we started with this whole project in 2016. And what is cross innovation all about? It's about sort of structured open innovation formats with creatives. Our mission is this whole project is about having this strong belief that creatives are innovation drivers and learning within this promotion period where their potentials are and how to actually leverage them. So it's basically always about cross-sector collaboration that is result open but yet solution oriented. So it's our learning task to find out how can we bring agents from the creative industries together with agents from other industries so that they can effectively work with each other on eye level. And how can we make sure that creatives are being involved not only at a later point of time where they're only service providers, but really on eye level, which means like in the really, really, really early period of innovation.
You cater to peers, the creative professionals and people from different industries that need some sort of or are open for innovative projects. So how do you structure that? How do you set that up? How does your work with the hub look like?
Yeah. So there are like success factors for cross innovations that we sort of bear in mind. And part of it is like, as you say, it's of course it's about the process and the methods, the whole facilitation of it. It's about legal frameworks that we provide, financial frameworks, and all of that. So it's about really, first of all, thinking about, okay, which could be like a matching format. Are we talking about a cross-innovation lab that endures for several months? And does that lab actually need a subject or doesn't it? Is it consciously without a subject? And how many companies could actually be involved? And so we have like, diving deeper into that one example of a cross-innovation lab. That's like just one format that we do. And there we have like up to 8 teams with 8 challenges. And then at least 2 creatives per challenge that are being involved.
So the teams are the industry teams?
The industry teams.
That need innovation, that look for innovation?
Right.
Okay.
They are in need for it. They are paying to participate also. Yeah. Because of course, like creatives are paid just as well. And so there is a process within it, or there is a process where those creatives come together with the companies, and there are periods where they work just as sub-teams, the creatives with the according company. But there are also points throughout this process where all of the company agents and all of the creative agents come together so that they can actually be wise crowds for each other also. So just to leverage as many potentials as possible, because you have that temporarily wise crowd. Yeah. Okay. And that that means, for example, like we had in 2020 or in the beginning of 2020, we had a cross innovation lab under the subject of climate. So we were looking for companies from any industry that were searching for answers how to reduce their CO2 footprint in their business model. Yep. And companies that participated came from the logistics, aviation, all sorts of branches. Yeah. And there were just,
do they apply to you? Or how do you choose the companies you want to work with?
Yeah, well, but we always have open call because we're a public intermediary. So we always have open calls into any direction. But then it with company, it works like first come, first serve.
Yeah.
So we're not being anyhow restrictive. Yeah.
Okay, that's super interesting. And okay, that's the industry side. And how do you pick the creatives? What do they bring to the table? Are they innovators? Are they specialized in their creative niche? How does that look like?
Yeah, so of course it always goes hand in hand with those open calls. Yeah. And often we have juries that decide which creatives are participating. And I think, like, generally speaking, of innovation programs that we conduct, it's always those visionary minds that we look for. It's never limited to one submarket only. You know, we know of course that designers, for instance, they are super they're like the intersectional super players. They can always, they always have like Standbein competencies, competencies that are just, that always match plans that companies bring into that processes. But we consciously always involve also people with Spielbein competencies that are not that obvious to the plans or challenges.
Maybe we should translate this for the English audience.
Yes.
There's this concept you quote, 2 legs, and one is your standing leg, which you are rooted in your craft and your routines, and you have a lot of experience under your belt, and then you have the so-called playing or gaming leg. It's like modeling. You're always standing on one leg and the other one can be spread out. You can play with that. And I guess that's what you're referring to, right? That some people are rooted in, let's say, design, and they have a business approach and they learn how to manage intersections between art and craftsmanship and business and all of this. And then you maybe have creatives from other fields like music or visual arts or architects or something that are more playful and bring new methods.
Yes.
Something like that?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Okay.
And also, like, or when you think about like building building a new or creating a new building that is fit for the future, let's say 20 years from now, it's sort of obvious then in that case to involve architects. Yeah. But it may not be obvious to include people from the performing arts. But then again, actually it does make sense because they work together with humans. It's a lot about interaction. It's a lot about what do humans actually do with space. So getting into those shoes of users, of future users, it's super crucial. And
you and your team, you're curating this whole process, which is amazing, because that's actually, I mean, that's one of the deciding factors if this, or let's say the quality of innovation or the long-term effectiveness of the innovation is really rooted in this curation process. As you just said, we're looking for the building of the future. Of course, you could do like architects and designers that do guiding systems or whatever. But yeah, involving, let's say, live performers, people working with other people. That's amazing. How do you pick them? How do you curate the assembly, the Avengers team of creatives for your new round?
So differently, like we really often work with juries. So and in those juries we have like people that we think have that mind for making the right choice, and it's always people from the creative side, but also from like quotation mark non-creative side. So through juries, but then again also when we have like pools of creatives that are being involved, we may also just do formats where they can make a decision themselves, so like for instance in a lab where there is 7-8 teams of companies with their very different challenges, why do we have to match the creatives to those challenges? It's beautiful, and it does make sense that they can actually match themselves because they see where their interests lie. They see what they could possibly leverage in which team. So we always, kind of play with where should they do it themselves, and where are we like being dominant and telling them where to go.
Good move. Smart move. So, okay. And then you bring those people together, and I guess it's a certain amount of time that they work together. How many months? How many weeks? It's one run or sprint, or I don't know how you call it.
Yeah. So in that example, it's 3 to 4 months. But we also do formats that are just like a 1-day workshop or so. But like being very strict in the way of saying it needs to be like this one diamond where there is a period of divergence and you increase for complexity. You involve many perspectives, and then again, you consciously go into a period of divergence and condense towards a first draft of solution.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I really love that. I think it's super exciting. I'm going to bounce a little theory off of you later about creativity and innovation. But before that, I really want to understand the whole construct of your Cross Innovation Hub. So there's as I said, you curate the whole process, and also there's maybe an overarching agenda. Like I said in the beginning, are you interested in global trends, problems, innovation that maybe helps with a certain topic that needs a solution? So how do you said you do something, the architecture of the future, sustainability. How do you curate these overall topics for the innovation hubs?
Well, we're doing it, I think, by monitoring, but also by monitoring, actually. What are the needs that the business sector currently has, and that the society also has? Or, for example, if you're just looking up the regional innovation strategy of Hamburg, there are those 5 future fields being named, like, for instance, climate and energy, mobility, health.
The classics.
Yeah. And of course, then we have the nice chance of making a conscious choice. So, like in the last month, we consciously made this choice for sustainability topics, where we said, okay, it is time for climate action. How can we actually contribute to it? Now that we understand what this cross innovation process is all about, and companies are, of course, having this challenge to meet the goals. How can we help achieve it?
Huge responsibility, but really,
I don't know. We're taking it on.
Yeah, but I mean, if you
we need to take it on,
like you make an impact and have purpose in your work. I mean, that's just amazing. So all sweet people listening and say, okay, I really want to join in. Does the company have to be located in Hamburg to apply?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't necessarily. Most companies in the past were based in Hamburg, but we're absolutely open for others as well.
So good news for everyone listening. You can apply from all over the world. Yeah. Amazing. Come to Hamburg. That's cool. So, okay, to make it more concrete, do you have any examples you can actually talk about? I don't know how the compliance works, but maybe we can beep out the actual names or something. Because if anyone is listening who's not aware of this whole innovation culture, or what can I expect as an outcome, what do I walk away with? Let's say I work 3 to 4 months with creative peer group and you curating the whole process. What can I actually take away from it?
Sweets people, are you looking for a creative boost, some inspiration, or you want to solve a problem in a creative way? Check out my Meet Your Muse Creative Coaching. This coaching is a creative boost for brand owners or marketing and design teams. We'll focus on a specific challenge or question, and we will find a variety of creative ways to solve it, from brand or product strategy to design and marketing tasks, or your content strategy and storytelling. Boost your creativity and find innovative solutions. I will help you to develop and curate ideas and strategies to solve your creative challenge. Find the right questions to ask, break down creative blockages, find ideas that can be implemented immediately and are effective in the long term. Meet your muse now. Check out sweetspot-studio.com to get in touch. And now, let's get back to the show.
Okay, so there is like a whole variety also on our website. So just spoiling a little bit at that point, just go enter cross-innovation cases, Hamburg Kreativgesellschaft, and you have some examples there. But apart from that, I think you have first drafts, first concepts, and first prototypes. You know, like in this current period, you don't have more than that. But we're actually targeting to get deeper into that whole period of realization where we hadn't had our focus on yet. So, and going into more concrete cases, of course, like it depends on which innovation programs we're talking about. Are we talking about innovation programs in terms of product, service, process innovation, or business model innovation?
You can just pick your favorite one or most surprising one.
Yes. Okay. So I think one beautiful example is a very big aviation team that participated in this climate lab. And as it seems, they should get promotion for the concept that they handed in. And so what they did in the lab, they haven't met before. There were just some small and medium-sized companies that wanted to do something in the aviation sector, and they developed a concept, a spatial concept, which is cradle to cradle. Okay, and they handed in that concept. So that's still a little bit abstract. To make it more concrete, the cross-innovation class, which is sort of like the lab, but we're working with students there, they developed like a bike handle, which through crowd sensing and warns you where accidents take place or naturally take place. So you just got that mobile warning system with you along the way. Yeah. And so they came up with this prototype. Or what's another prototype that was developed was like an augmented reality digital twin for predictive maintenance.
A twin for a machine or for a human being?
For a machine. Okay. In that case.
Because maintenance would sound amazing for a human. Okay, I need to work out, otherwise I need maintenance. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Exciting stuff. So you talked about the teams from the companies, from the industry teams that come there. What kind of people do companies usually send into the innovation lab? Is it like the product owners, the management team, the hands-on craftsmen? Who's usually participating? Or is there, like, in your experience, a best case team with different skill levels inside that team?
Yeah, I think like in those sort of lab-like formats, it's always, it's, as you said, it's often it's product managers, it's people from research and development, it's innovation managers, marketing people. When it's small or medium-sized companies, it's also the directors themselves that participate. And then I think in the end, it's always just important. It's pretty much up to the challenge or the plans that they're bringing into the process. When we're giving like in this kickoff talks and like try to consider, okay, who who should you actually
so you help
involve?
Them.
Yes, so we have always like sort of what's the process like? When is it important to involve whom? Also like considering there's like a public opening or there's a public closing. Not everyone should be like involved all the time, but hey, those are the chances where you can actually really leverage sort of the transformation potential and make sure that that the solutions being created are not buffering out afterwards.
We talked about the city and the rooms you rent out and the teams and the creatives from different sections. If I take that to maybe a meta level or something, I would say it's a lot about also culture, innovation culture within the teams or the creative crafts and the companies that come in. I think innovation, startup industry or founders, entrepreneurs in general, it has a lot to do with the mentality and the culture, maybe also of the team, but also of the country. So if you as the Kreativgesellschaft, how do you see the German innovation culture or creative culture compared to the international competition? So if someone is listening to this, what do you think works out amazing here? What can we do better? I really wondered how you view that.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I think what's for sure that like innovation culture is like the premise for anything to collaboratively develop.
Yeah.
And I think it's like one of the key finding in any innovation program that we're doing, that we always have to set a big focus of making up that culture in the beginning. And there's always that very big need that if that culture is not already lived out within these companies, there's always like this market niche that you could just go into afterwards. So when it comes to Germany, that's interesting. I think, like in the US, you have like this super technology driven maker mindset. Whereas like sort of in Europe, or partly, you have like a more critical stance, and then maybe also like a bit slower. But then again, that also has like its own qualities.
Definitely.
So yeah, I always like to think like beyond those limits, like of a city or like a region, because in the end, I mean, like what innovation culture is all about is about collaboration. And it's about open innovation, and it's about trying to do that in a way that is also fine for the society. And so it goes beyond any borders.
I think, or I had a talk with the agency owner, a creative from the US, and we also debated this because he worked with German clients and I worked with clients from the US. And I think there are some differences, but just as you said, if you assemble them and they work together as a team, you can really make the most of it. I think there's more, maybe more openness, more lightheartedness about technology, and really diving deep into technology on a wide scale, maybe in the US market, also in the Asian market, I guess. I think the capital is also very differently distributed in the US. A lot more venture capital, a lot more risk taking on the capital side as well as on the founder side. There's not a lot of fear of failure, because this hero's journey of a founder is always connected there with fail again until you succeed. And do you experience this here in Germany, that this is finally shifting? Because I sometimes think we're still a little bit stuck, especially if you're not on the creative or professional innovation side. People are sometimes really stuck in, okay, this is my line of work, this is the 7th approval for a concept, and there's kind of a fear of failure. Can you break this in the teams you work with?
Yes. we always try to break it.
Yes.
But I think because you beautifully, I think, summed it up and captured it. We try to break it. So like, it's always about this, understanding, deciding, making, testing again. You may fail, whatever. You're just continuing, you're learning. So it's all about this mutual learning mindset and getting into that maker mood. And it's beautiful. And I think it's also crucial to be and stay critical. And I think creatives are just so good in that because they're like super problem sensitive but then again, have the courage to say, fuck it. Let's just do that in a different way and we'll get there.
Yeah.
So we try to make it possible. So that is a lot about culture then. And that's like very crucial, very, very crucial within any process.
Yeah. So you pick your creatives also in terms of who can maybe get this culture across into the companies that apply, or is that something you actively work on with them and have little coaching motivation sessions like let's fail, let's successfully fail together or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it has to be the right minds, and one has to say we are always accompanying those processes and, concepting those things, but we are also collaboratively doing that with super experts in it and work together with very experienced moderators whose work we truly appreciate. So they also, of course, like substantially help us. But like when I remember one lab team, it was so beautiful. Like where there was also like a very visionary, radical mind, a journalist, and he just pulled all the questions out there. So how radical can we actually be? Because I would like to dig deeper into your business model because this is not going to work out.
Yeah.
And okay, so this is like too strict and too radical for you. Okay, but then I would like to see like where we can leverage most potential.
Yeah.
And having that space to raise those questions in the early period of innovation and having that time to actually do the research in it with the right persons, whoever they may be, product innovation, research and development, whatever, that's beauty. That's beauty.
Yeah. Yeah. Asking the right questions. Yeah. It's beautiful that you can find this space within your program. It's really good. As I said, I want to bounce a theory off of you because I studied design and innovation management, and I found obviously, because you bring companies that seek innovation and creatives together, but I think there are differences between innovation, culture and management and creative work, but I think there are some common denominators that really overlap, like, let's say, fear of failure, trying things again, being playful about it, but also like limiting factors like time pressure, limited resources in terms of women power, financing, all of that stuff. How do you see that? Do you agree that creativity and innovation have an overlapping, and maybe where do you see the difference? Are there limits to each sector that maybe they can help each other out?
For sure, there are very many overlaps. And you could never say like, okay, so the creatives or the agents from the stock markets are the creative ones and the others aren't. I think if you're consciously working as a good professional within the innovation field, you must be creative. But how can they help each other out? I think they're like having, going through those different submarkets. There are just some qualities behind that are so specific and that they can be beautifully transferred to those, to those blind spots others cannot grasp to.
Well said.
Let's say like you take an architect thinking in space, in physical space, you know, space can be anything, actually. I mean, space can be a liminal space. It can be, I don't know, there is something else which is, you know, being sort of open up. And I think what creatives have, it's very hard to say like there's this one answer to it, but let's take, you have an innovation manager from a big company. Okay, creative mind within a structured, very well structured organization, naturally having networks with other innovation managers, but very much on the business side only, not working within those very fluid networks where creatives naturally work within, beyond organizational limits. And, you know, working, I don't know, and then it depends, of course, to the submarket, working with their hands, working with technology, developing technology further, working with a gamer perspective, you know, like, so where's the hint to it? And, and of course, like, if you have like someone who's very good in business administration, there are qualities to this discipline, and that creatives can learn a lot from. And so it's always about this mutual learning. And so with our work, we're just tapping into some blind spots of so many blind spots that we all have in our daily life.
But that's an amazing word for it. I really love that. There are the sweet spots and there are the blind spots. I really like that.
True.
I really like that. Yeah. And again, it comes down to what you said in the beginning, to just collaborate and just bring people with potentially curious minds in one room. It's really cool. Yeah. Well, let's take a look into the future together, because you're so involved with innovation and creative working. What do you think, which trends or technology will you be working with and will make a big imprint on the innovations of the future within the next years? Is there something that you're really keen to work with? Is there something that you're skeptical about?
I'm very open. Like, I think there are like subjects which are topics that are just currently really pressing, that are just, I think, pushing into that whole field of innovation when asking yourself, so what is innovation all about? Is it about developing the next new product, the next new service that, again, nobody actually needs, like putting it like in a negative term? I think, or I truly believe, it shouldn't what innovation is all about. So I think this whole discussion and talk about innovation should always have that shift of circular innovation, sort of, or, you know, how can it actually have a good business impact, but again, also like in a socially and planetarily good way. So I'm sort of like tripping about all of those sustainability topics. And within technology, it's, I mean, like, how can artificial intelligence help us? What is this whole metaverse is all about? What are the options that are just going along all of those developments? Within those important action fields that we can shape our work with.
Yeah, totally. Well, I like that. I respect that you really think in terms of society and cultural fields where we need to take action and not driven by, let's say, the metaverse, Earth 2.0 or whatever. Yeah, it's a good, necessary perspective, I think. Yeah. And for the sweet people listening who can also listen to German podcasts, I can recommend my talk from last year with Karel Golter. He talked a lot in our interview. It's in German though, but if you can understand it, listen to it. We talked a lot about circular design, circular economy, and also the responsibility of innovators and designers when it comes to that. I have 2 questions I ask all my guests at the end.
Do it.
So, first of all, I really wondered what is next for you, for the Creative Society. How can people apply? Are there new courses, new hubs planned? What's happening next?
There's a lot of stuff going on. So please always check our website for any open call, for sure. I don't know. I mean, we're doing like currently, or we're doing a second round of Creative Future Academy, where it's about like boosting the creatives that need some, or maybe need some more boost within that digitization super trend and necessity. We're hopefully starting with the cross innovation with this next promotion period by the beginning of next year. And with that, we want to learn a bit more and go deeper into strategic foresight also. So the very early period of innovation, but also like pushing it a bit more towards realization. So we're just very happy for all creative visionaries that want to be also involved. There is a big project which is called Freiflächen, free spaces, within our space team, where there is a whole lot of temporary space available in Hamburg currently, with super interesting pop-up creatives doing their things there. So check out. That's a nice thing.
I put it all in the show notes. Perfect.
Yeah, please. So there are a whole lot of stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks. So, and my last question is there anything that really inspires you right now? Could be book, movie, shows, talks, whatever it is. Is there something you want to share with us that you say this inspires you right now, or maybe always?
But that wouldn't be something for the note, but what like really inspires me like on a daily basis as I live together with my nephew, my niece, you know, like children's perspective. That's really like, that inspires me on a daily basis. And I think it matches like this whole innovation sector in a good way, because learning how to unlearn or undo things and being sort of like a blind spot, a blanket paper again, is like the best, or is it sort of, to some extent, it's a premise, right? To make big thinking in the innovation field. And
it's a very good segue into cultivating your own creativity, or maybe even curiosity. Amazing. Raffaela, thank you so much. I think we came full circle. We started with your curiosity, went through creatives, industries, and now we ended up with a call to action for all sweet people listening. Thank you so much for being on this show.
Thank you very much.
It's been
beautiful
a pleasure.
Invitation. Yes, it is.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sweet people, are you now also hungry for innovation? I really enjoyed talking to Raffaela. She's a truly curious mind, always looking for new challenges and ways to provoke new ideas. I appreciate what the Hamburg Kreativgesellschaft is doing with the Cross Innovation Hub, bringing companies and creatives together to create sustainable ideas, concepts, and even prototypes. If you want to learn more about the Cross Innovation Hub, check out the show notes. And if you want to work on your own creative ideas and solutions, visit my website, sweetspot-studio.com, and sign up for one of my Meet Your Muse creative coachings. That's it for today. I'll be back with another show in 2 weeks, so stay tuned and I'll hear you on the sweet side.
This podcast is produced by Sweetspot Studio. New episodes each week, wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you enjoyed the show, leave a rating and subscribe to never miss an episode. Find out more at sweetspot-studio.com.